Greetings Earth Range. I spent about 2,600 miles, 5.5 months sleeping in the Six Moons Designs Lunar Solo backpacking tent. So I got to grips with it pretty well in that time. So this is my review. Spoiler alert, it's absolutely amazing. It's a great backpacking tent. But of course, there's a lot of ifs, buts and whatevers. And of course, the thing everybody wants to know about, the C word, condensation. So I'm just going to find a nice little flat spot, put it up, and we'll get to it. Alright. Alright, so this is Six Moons Designs Lunar Solo Backpacking Tent. It's a single pole, single skin tent. It's made from polyester, silicone coated polyester. It's a 1-person tent, 1.5 person tent. Couldn't really get 2 people in here. I'll get you in here in a minute. It's got a good room though. It's got enough room for me. I'm 6 foot. 200 pounds, enough room for me and my bag. I'll get my mat and my sleeping bag and my bag in here in a bit, and I'll show you. It was a great tent. Took it all the way up the Pacific Crest Trail, took it through the desert, took it through the Sierra Nevada mountains, snow and ice, took it through the forests and woods of NorCal, Oregon, and then obviously up into the moderate temperate rainforest in North Washington. So I've seen it in a lot of conditions: wind, rain, snow, sun. It took a big dump of snow once as well, really like quite heavy slushy snow. Stood up to it really well. I would really recommend this tent. It's only weighs about 750 grams without your pole and pegs. I was using groundhogs, mini groundhogs by the way, and it packs down really small, so I mean like that. I just pack it into a Cedar Summit waterproof bag. In the few days that it rained, it held up to the rain well. The rain didn't blow through. If it gets wet, then all of it's wet, because it's only single skin, there's no fly sheet. If you've got a double skin tent, you can take the fly sheet off and keep your inner dry. It dries really quickly. You just hang it up for 10 minutes, even if it's just in the sun or just in ambient grey day, it'll dry pretty quickly. But if the outside and the inside's wet, well, even if the outside's wet, then all of it's going to get wet really, even no matter how hard you try and pack it up, because it's one integral piece. The mesh around that connects the bathtub's about 6 inches high. I'll get you in here and show you. The mesh around the bathtub connects to the outer. The only time I had problems with that was when it was very windy. Maybe I would get sand or dust or ash blown through, and you'd have like a dusty night. But that was the only time. And also, if you look at the fly sheet here, comes up quite high, and that's to get a lot of ventilation into the tent to avoid condensation. So there's only a couple of times that I barricade myself behind my pack. So let's talk about condensation. It's a single skin tent, so if you are pitched somewhere where it's going to be damp overnight, conditions are going to be conducive to moisture rising and condensing on the side of your fly sheet or your outer of your single skin tent, and you are going to be in your tent with wet walls. Did it happen a lot? No. Did it happen often? Yes. Unfortunately, everybody wants to know, what's the condensation like, how is the condensation, how you pitch, where you pitch, how you ventilate. All has a big effect, but all tents are going to get condensation on them, and it's whether you can deal with living with your face and your body and your sleeping bag, etc. next to it. It doesn't drip much unless it's raining, then it'll sort of rain inside. And there was a few nights where I had ice lined on the inner, and also sometimes my breath would like condense onto the walls and drip in my face. So the only thing I can say is you're gonna have to try one. I can't tell you, yes, get one, a single skin tent, and deal with the condensation. You're gonna have to try it and see if it's within or without your comfort zone, whether you can put up with it. I couldn't to start with. I did eventually, but I really enjoyed this tent, and I had even when it was wet inside, which I don't want to over egg it, because it did collect condensation, but not as much as I thought it was going to. I had a little microfiber towel, and if it was particularly bad, which it wasn't always bad, I would just spend some time wiping, squeezing, wiping, squeezing. A little 10-minute, quarter of an hour job. You could get a lot of the heavy moisture out. A lot of the time there was just like a sheen, a little damp sheen, no problem. But mostly I slept with both doors open. You can have both doors shut. You can have both open. You can have this one shut, that one open, this one shut. And I used to just lie, because I'm a side sleeper. It was marvellous for me. I could open both these doors and just lie here and look at the stars, sleeping out. Yeah, really good tent. If you have a look, I'll take you around the outside of it, and you'll be able to see that it's actually there's a few holes in it. There's a few holes in the inner mesh. I'll show you those where animals tried to get in. But I think that's just because I took it so far and so long. Wear and tear. It's no fault of the tent. It's tough. It's light. It's packable. It was a good home for the Pacific Crest Trail. And at some point, your tent on the Pacific Crest Trail becomes like a glorified mosquito net, because the weather's so good you don't really need to put your fly sheet on most of the time. And I was a little bit jealous sometimes of people who just had their inner up and their fly sheets in their bags, just because they could lie on their backs and look at the stars. But I'm a side sleeper anyway, so it worked out pretty well. I had one problem with the zip, but that was literally a problem with the actual little metal zipper piece. I just needed squeezing with tweezers to make it work again. And Six Moons did actually send me out some new zips in case I needed them. Yeah, positive review. Really enjoyed it. So I'll get you some shots of inside and of me lying in the air, and you can see I'm 6'1", 200 pounds, so let's have a look. Alright, I don't know how well this is going to go. Let's have a look. So you can see there's a bit of room above my head here. And then if we go down my body, and you can see down that end, my feet. So there's good clearance on the walls. And then if you look next to me, got this amazing bit of area here. I can used to get my pack in and lay all my stuff out. And then you can see above my head also. I've got this vent up here, lets in air, helps with the condensation. Okay, you can see this Lunar tape repair here in the mesh that joins the bathtub to the outer. That was when some kind of animal tried to get in the night, tried to get my food. Also in the front of the I also had a hole out of patch with liquid tape in the front where something tried to get in as well. But you can see there's good overlap where the outer comes out towards the ground and the bathtub comes up, so any moisture landing on here is going to drip past the mesh and past the bath and won't fall inside the bathtub. I've never had any problems with moisture being in here. I've got a ground sheet under it. I've got a Tyvek ground sheet under it as well. So really great tent. One internal pocket by the door. That's pretty good. I'll give you some scale. I'll put my glasses in there. To be honest, I never used it. I will just had everything scattered around in here because there's plenty of room for one person. But yeah, handy. A lot of people like that. Actually, I used to just put my sleeping bag and my sleeping pad mat in there just so I could get my hands on them in the morning. One kind of utility hanging strap there. I never used it, to be honest. I did try to put my light on it quite a lot. Found it too fiddly. Never actually used it. The mechanism for attaching, for holding back the fly sheet and the mesh inner was a little bit fiddly, but only really because you used the same one for both the door and the mosquito door. So and you could do either side, but yeah, a little bit fiddly. Used to curse that sometimes, but I mean, I'm just quibbling now. Not really a game changer. So one night on trail, I got absolutely dumped on with snow. A pretty heavy dump, and it was kind of wet, sludgy snow, heavy. And I was up, a few times in the night with my trowel, just digging the snow out away from the sides, because it was starting to like push down on the sides and push onto my face, and it was quite a big build-up. But I'd be in here and I'd be like battering the sides, just whacking the snow off, this heavy sludgy snow. And none of the pegs popped. It held up. The only time I popped a peg was when I went out and I was digging myself out and I pulled one out by accident. So I was pretty pleased with that. It was a good test. Nothing came through. Nothing came through the mesh as the snow was piling and piling. So as you can imagine, if I can grab it, and it was pulling down like that, you would think snow would fall through in here where I've got my fingers now, would push through there, but it never really did. It was enough to keep it in compact and in one piece and not like powder through. And obviously because it was cold, it didn't melt through. Yeah, it was good in the snow. That's all I can say, but it was just that one night. And there was a few tents that took a beating that night. This was at, some of you might know, it's called Little Jimmy's campsite just after Baden-Powell. Quite a big backpacking tent site, which you can only hike to, and there was about 10 tents there, and I know 2 of them had damage, pole damage from the weight of the snow. So yeah, it did well. It held up to the snow well. Whether you'd count it as a 4-season snow hiking bag, I would say no, but you're going to get through any freak snowstorm that's going to come at you. Yeah, did well in the snow. It also held up to wind pretty well. The only thing I found with the wind, apart from dust, or if you're in a burn zone, ash, fine ash would blow through the mesh. The only thing I found was it would flap, and quite flap at a high frequency, so it kind of go brrrr. But that wasn't every time it was windy. Probably it was like a pitching issue of how I'd pitched it, so well, that's a minor disadvantage. Didn't cause me that much problem. I would say now that it has got a little bit out of shape. It's stretched and warped a bit. I mean, it took a hiding. It really did. Once you've pitched it, you really need to wait like 5 or 10 minutes and readjust all the guidelines. and all the tie outs, because it stretches, because it's silicone coated polyester, it stretches and you need to get it into shape. But you see it's still pretty holding pretty good shape. You can see I've got a patch there, there's a few more. I mean, that was the thorns in the desert. I mean, they're horrendous. So yeah, I mean, I patched about 5 or 6 holes on the outer over the 5.5 months. Nothing ever got in, no rain ever got in. And I would say, you could see, I don't know, there's a bit of stress on the stitching going on now. All these seams were sealed when I got it from, see some of the sealant coming off there. You know, this is 5 months in, 2,600 miles, so I'm not really wanting to say, oh, this is a defect. It just had a lot of use, and you can see all the staining on it and the different colours of it where it's faded in the sun. And let's get you a nice picture of the logo. Here we go. I'm just going to say it's a great tent. I enjoyed being in it. I look forward to getting into it every night, tying the doors back, looking up at the stars. Always felt safe in it, always felt warm and dry, and it was light, it's compact, easy to put up, brilliant. I'd recommend it. If you want to get one, go for it. So any questions, put in the comments. I'm bound to have forgotten something. I'll take some more. What I'll do is I'll blow my mat up, put my sleeping bag in there, just so you can, and the pack, and just so you can see the kind of space it takes up. Alright, I hope that helps. I've had a lot of people asking about this, so there we go. Hope it helps. I've probably forgotten something, but alright.